Super Regionals on the line. Boise State trying to get to the Supers for the first time in school history. They face the 5th-seeded Florida Gators. We welcome you to the NCAA Softball Regionals, presented by Capital One. Boise State needs 2 wins today to get to the Supers. Florida is 2-0 here in the Gainesville Regional. They just need a win here in Game 1. If Boise State wins, they will play again this afternoon in a winner-take-all showdown for a spot in the Supers. With that, we welcome you to Gainesville alongside 3-time All-American Madison Shipman. I'm Eric Freed, and this is a rematch of a game yesterday that was all Florida. So will things turn around for Boise here today is the big question.
Hey, well, both of these teams have been battling it out all weekend long, and it comes down to today. Coming into this weekend, Boise State had one of the hottest offenses in the country, led by none other than senior Rebecca Cervantes. She has been great for them both defensively and offensively, turning double plays, even had a ball leave the yard. She's also sprinkled in a couple of base hits here and there, but looking to lead this Broncos team.
Boise State with a victory over Stanford yesterday, 2-0 in an elimination game. They face elimination today against Kelly Barnhill.
She has been phenomenal throughout this postseason. The regular season wasn't exactly what she wanted, but she said the best part of postseason is you get to put that behind you and focus on the task at hand, and she has been confident in the circle day in and day out, and she's got 32 strikeouts over the last 5 games.
She combined with Natalie Lugo for a no-hitter in 5 innings against Boise State yesterday. Florida is rolling. They've won 7 in a row, including an SEC championship and 2 regional wins along the way. Boise State's first NCAA tournament wins have come here this weekend. Can the Broncos pull off the upset, or will the Gators chomp up another regional title? The first pitch is next. Cecil Presley Stadium in Gainesville, ready for this regional final matchup between Boise State, an at-large selection out of the Mountain West, and the SEC tournament champions, the Florida Gators. And Kelly Barnhill, who is the MVP of the SEC tournament, is back in the circle for Florida.
Well, we know that Kelly Barnhill is going to bring the heat. She throws in the upper 60s, even into the low 70s. She likes to throw that rise ball on any plane, so she'll start it low in the zone and even bring it up in the zone. The one pitch that has really been working for her in this postseason is that 2-seam fastball low in the zone. It drops off the table right at the last minute, making it very difficult for hitters to figure out if they're going to hit that 2-seam fastball or that rise ball.
Barnhill pitched 2 innings yesterday against Boise State. She was followed by Natalie Lugo. Barnhill and Lugo combining for the no-hitter of the Broncos. Time now for the starting lineup for Boise State, brought to you by Capital One. And they have made some adjustments here today compared to their previous games here in the regional. Coral Wade, no change, leading hitter for this Boise State team at the top of the lineup. But Ashlyn Adams is up in the number 2 spot. She was hitting 6. Rebecca Cervantes moves from 2 to 3. Fillmore is the leading Bronco when it comes to home runs and runs batted in. First year, Maggie Laveri's been head coach at Boise State. First NCAA tournament wins, getting 2 here in this tournament now, trying to take that next step and knocking off mighty Florida, the number 5 seed in the NCAA tournament. The weather is perfect here in Gainesville. 84 degrees at the first pitch, and that is ball 1. Wade, in 3 games played for Boise State, is 2 for 9 with a couple of runs batted in. Tries to bunt, popped up behind Jordan Robertson off the netting. It's 1-1.
You can see already in this first at-bat, Cora Wade using more of that small ball. She has added a lot more power to her arsenal, but knowing that she's going up against Kelly Barnhill, just trying to get the ball on the ground, create some chaos in the defense. You can see how far up Hannah Sipos is playing over at third base to try to defend any short game that Cora Wade might put down on the ground.
Wade has a knack for getting on base. It's a 40-game on-base streak. She's reached base safely in 46 of the 51 games for the Broncos this year. Boise State with 36 wins on the season. They went 12-12 in conference play, and it's 2-2. Barnhill, 2 innings, no hits, no runs, 1 walk, 3 strikeouts against Boise State. yesterday afternoon. Boise State had to come back, play an elimination game, which they won last night against Stanford. Swing and a miss, and Barnhill gets her first strikeout, one away.
Barnhill using that rise ball. She threw it earlier in this at-bat down in the zone, and then she comes right back with this one up in the zone. Look at how much jump this pitch has on it. Cora Wade not able to get her barrel on top of that. That's the first strikeout on the day for Kelly Barnhill.
See the numbers for her in the Gainesville Regional. Lugo was credited with the win, going 3 innings yesterday, as Ashlyn Adams can't connect, and it's strike one. Florida has a 3-0 win against BU, an 8-0 run rule win against Boise State here in Gainesville. 0-2 to Adams, the right fielder, the sophomore, at .353 on the season. First team all-conference selection in the Mountain West. In fact, the first 5 hitters in the lineup today are all conference selections in the Mountain West. 4 first-teamers, then a second-teamer, and Jessica McKay batting 5th. Adams gets hit on the 0-2 pitch.
Barnhill got the first 2 strikes on that rise ball up in the zone, tries to bring this one a little bit more inside, and ends up hitting Ashlyn Adams right on the arm to allow the first base runner to reach base in this game.
Rebecca Cervantes was hitting second here in this regional. She's now batting 3rd here today. She's had a very good regional, 4 for 9 at the plate with a home run, a couple of RBI. We've seen a lot of home runs across the country. It's called a strike in the regional round of the NCAAs, but there hasn't been a lot of home runs here at KSP, just 2 home runs.
And I think that's because
Cervantes.
We've seen such spectacular pitching all the way across the board. Not a lot of mistakes left over the heart of the plate, but Rebecca Cervantes was one of those hitters that did capitalize on one of those pitches. But here she's got herself a pretty good at-bat going, taking those pitches that are up in the zone. I think that's definitely going to be a key for this Boise State offense, is forcing Kelly Barnhill to bring that ball down in the zone so that you're not swinging and chasing at those ones up at your shoulders or higher.
Stanford's Whitney Burks, the other home run hitter in this regional. 2-2 now to the senior. Put up great career numbers. 41 career home runs, 86 now career runs batted in. This is a fly ball to the left fielder, Caraway. 2 down. Caraway is in left field with Alex Voss in center field and Jamie Hoover in right for the Gators. And on the infield, Hannah Sipos at third, Sophia Reynoso at short, Hannah Adams at second, Amanda Lorenz is at first with Jordan Roberts catching Barnhill. If you haven't been with us this weekend, be prepared for Madison and I to praise Florida's defense because it is what they do best. Pitching and defense, just 22 errors. They have not committed an error in this regional so far in their 12 innings of play.
Well, you know that Florida is not going to come into these games beating themselves. They are going to force other teams to beat them with their bats.
0-2 the count.
And we've seen some phenomenal plays on defense by this Florida team as well. And we know that that's something that they practice often. They like to make the hard plays look easy. And that's why they have the 2nd best fielding percentage in the nation.
Big rip on the 0-2 by Brady Fillmore. Junior from Eagle, Idaho, who transferred in from Cal, having a great year for Boise State. Three for 9 here in this regional. Another 0-2. Line drive, base hit, solid single to right center field. Going from first to third is Adams. And Boise State with runners on the corners with 2 down. They did not pick up a hit against Florida yesterday. They get one here in the first.
That was a great piece of hitting. That's a good look at that 2-seam fastball on the outside half of the plate. Brady Fillmore just stays with it and drives it right back up the middle. The speedy Adams was able to advance all the way to third base on that base hit. Now Boise State's got runners on the corners with 2 outs.
For Jessica McKay, who's 3 for 8 here in this regional. McKay, the junior left fielder, second team all-conference selection, good lefty pop. Oh, 2.
So far this inning, Barnhill has just been attacking the strike zone early in these counts. Getting these batters to fall behind 0-2. That allows her to be able to throw the ball wherever she wants to, but on the flip side, Boise State has been very good with 2 strikes.
Barnhill gets the strikeout, her second of the inning, to retire the side. Boise State strands 2 in the first.
Barnhill taking advantage of that 0-2 count, using this rise ball up in the zone to get McKay swinging for the 3rd out of the inning.
NCAA Softball Regionals is presented by Capital One. What's in your wallet?
This was after the game last night. Kelsey Brodus, she was talking to us, and she was focused as her teammates, they were parading behind. Was that Washington crossing to Delaware there? Here's the Royal Wave.
Yes.
Perhaps. Very nice.
And then you think it stops there, but it doesn't.
This one got me nervous. I thought this was a potential injury waiting to happen, but it was good. And I don't know if we can stretch it out long enough, though, for the final move. Morgan Lamb would come in. Here comes Morgan Lamb, and she's the character we've been told on this team, so she'll the landing at the end.
Solid 10. Solid 10.
All in celebration of Kelsey Brodus, who's been great in this regional.
Well, the lefty was just working that outside corner, especially to the righties, snagging that back door, having it curve back across the plate, and she has been phenomenal for this Broncos team so far this regional. Going to see from her, she's going to throw in the mid-60s, roughly 65 miles an hour. Likes to throw that lefty curveball, screwball combo. Occasionally, she'll bring it up in the zone. The thing I've been so impressed with her this regional is trying to work that pitch inside to the lefty. She's going to throw that backdoor curveball. So as a lefty batter, it's going to look like it's coming right at you, and at the last minute, curve back across the plate.
Amanda Lorenz leading off for Florida. Takes a pitch high for ball 1. It's 1-1 as we take a look at the starting lineup for the Gators. Brought to you by Capital One with Lorenz, Lindemann, Adams, 1, 2, 3. Adams having an excellent postseason. More on her in a moment. They got production from that bottom third of the lineup yesterday in beating Boise State. They did not face Kelsey Brodus. Brodus making her 2 appearances against Stanford here in this regional. A couple of complete games, giving up 10 hits, 1 run. It was unearned. 6 walks and 4 strikeouts. 220 pitches thrown by Brodus in the 2 games, including last night's win against the Cardinal. Lorenz pops it out of play. Man, a first-team selection in the SEC, of course, 1 for 4 in the regional, has walked 3 times, does have an RBI. In fact, here in the regional so far, and we know it's been a limited sample size because it's 12 innings at the plate for Florida, thanks to their run rule win yesterday against Boise State. But it hasn't been Lorenz and Lindemann who have had to carry the load like we've seen all season long. Adams has been good. Jake Caraway had a key hit yesterday. Sipos and Voss contributed hits in that big first inning when Florida scored 6 runs against Boise State. Lorenz slaps it through to left side for a base hit.
Well, I think Lorenz might have heard you talking on that one, saying that they haven't been as productive as usual, but here comes Amanda Lorenz in the first at-bat of this game for the Florida Gators, driving this curveball on the outside half of the plate and just extending that swing out towards left field to drive it out there for a base hit and a leadoff runner on with no outs.
Don't get me wrong. She still gets on base. Her on-base percentage is 500 here in the regional. She is still performing at that high level. Second hit of the regional for Lorenz, and here is Kendall Lindemann. Lindemann with just one hit in this regional, but it was a big one, an RBI double with 2 down against Boston University in the opener for Florida in the 5th inning. Allie Dubois was no-hitting Florida into the 5th, and the Gators scratched out a 3-0 win against the Patriot League champions.
And it was Cheyenne Lindsay coming off the bench to get that pinch hit base hit to break up the no-hitter. And then, of course, Kendall Lindemann coming up to drive in a couple of runs that inning.
There is a theme, by the way. All 11 runs that Florida has scored in this regional have come with 2 outs. Talked to Tim Walton in-game about that yesterday, just about their approach, the timely hits. And they have been fighting with this lineup, trying to find depth, trying to get it turned over back to Lorenz and Lindemann. And watching them in the SEC tournament, watching them here in the Gainesville Regional, they're hitting their best and playing their best right now.
Well, they're swinging freely. You can tell up at the plate that they are not putting ample pressure on themselves to get it done in that at-bat. They have so much trust in their teammates that their teammates are going to be able to get the job done behind them. So for these batters, the key is just passing the bat along to their teammates, trying to string together a couple of quality at-bats.
First 2 are aboard for Florida here in the first. Timely hits delivered time and again by Hannah Adams and her teammates. Friday they scored 3 runs in the 5th inning. Saturday they had 8 runs in the first 2 innings, but they've been held scoreless. But again, timely hits, and Adams, big part of it. 3 for 5 in the regional, a couple of runs batted in, a couple of runs scored as Boise State will huddle up, as will Florida.
And Florida's just done a really good job this regional of taking advantage of the free passes that these teams have given them. That's something they struggled with during the regular season. They would get a couple of runners on bases and then not be able to move them over, have unproductive at-bats. But that's the difference that we're seeing with this Gators offense this weekend, especially with somebody like Hannah Adams stepping up into that 3 spot. They needed somebody to have that mentality and that confidence to be able to hit behind hitters like Amanda Lorenz and Kendall Lindemann. And Coach Walton sat down with all 3 of them, including Hannah Adams, and said, hey, this is where I want to put you. Are you okay with that? And she said, yeah, absolutely. Put me in that spot. And she has been phenomenal for this team in the postseason.
She had one of those big 2-out hits, a single in the 5th inning against BU to bring in 2 runs. Here she is with 2 on and nobody out. Laying down the bunt. It's a fair ball. Sacrifice is successful as Adams moves Lorenz and Lindemann into scoring position with 1 down.
And what a team player by Hannah Adams. She is the hottest hitter for this Gator team in the postseason. A perfectly laid down bunt right on the foul line, making sure that it's down, see her eyes track it, make sure that that ball is in fair territory before she takes off towards first. She does her job and moves those runners over 1 more base.
Setting the table for Jordan Roberts. Ball 1 to Roberts. Junior at 260 on the season, 1 for 5 with a run scored in the regional. And it comes inside off the glove of the catcher, and Lorenz will score. Florida leads 1-0. Sacrifice bunt by Adams pays dividends pretty quickly for the Gators.
Heads up base running by Amanda Lorenz over at third base to take off immediately once this ball tips off the glove of Serena Hutchinson back behind the plate. A rise ball supposed to come up and into Jordan Roberts, and it just gets away.
3-0. When we talked to Kelsey Brodus while that parade was going on behind her, we did ask her, Is she ready to go? Does she want to pitch against Florida? And she goes, I always want the ball. And this is the biggest game right now. And you take a look at Boise State's history, a chance to get to the Super Regionals with 2 wins here today for the first time in program history.
And she's had a phenomenal regional so far. She's just been stoic out there in the circle. She has that constant mentality that her teammates can look to no matter what's going on the field. You know that she is going to stay the same in the circle.
Gianna Muncha got the start against Florida yesterday. She was relieved by Veronica Lynch, so Broad facing the Gators for the first time and in trouble here in the first inning. First and third, one down for Sofia Reynoso. Brodus has had to work around walks in the 2 wins so far for Boise State. Issued 6 walks total to Stanford. 2 already here in the first. Gets the call for strike 1.
Reynoso is just the rock in this Florida offense. Coach Tim Walton talks very well about her, just says how consistent she is day in and day out, and she is a fighter up at the plate. She's had some long, lengthy at-bats that have been momentum changers for this Florida team.
0-2 to Reynoso. Kendall Linneman at third. Jordan Roberts at first. You'll notice Madison has pointed this out with Reynoso, how much she chokes up here with 2 strikes. Just trying to make contact, trying to get something into play.
With that adjustment, you're exactly right. She's just trying to shorten up her swing. In this situation, knowing you've got Kendall Lindemann over at third base, you want to do whatever you can to poke that ball far enough into the outfield to allow Lindemann to score, to get another run across the board. But that is a drastic change, something we've really only seen in the past couple of weeks from Florida.
This one is blooped out to right field. It will get down in front of Adams. The throw to second to get the force, but the run scores from third as Lindemann comes in, 2-0 Gators.
And just as we were talking about just doing enough to get that ball into the outfield, that's exactly what Reynoso does. Shortening up her swing, poking this into right field, drops it right in front of Ashlyn Adams to allow Kendall Lindemann to score easily from third base.
So give an RBI to Reynoso. It goes into the books as a fielder's choice as Adams got the force play at second to retire Roberts, and that's strike 1 to Jamie Hoover. Hoover 1 for 3, couple of runs scored and an RBI here in the Gainesville Regional. It's 1-1. Comes in at .242 on the season with 6 home runs, 29 runs batted in. And on the hands, a bloop to Cervantes. She'll put it away. But the Gators score 2 in the first, and they lead after 1 in Gainesville.
Is on again at a place where legends live.
You can't script it any better than this.
You're going to make a run in Oklahoma City. You've got to be super confident on the biggest stages.
This is a stage that every little girl that plays softball dreams for.
There is history to be made.
Coverage begins May 30th. Plenty of news from these first couple of days of the NCAA tournament. Oklahoma continues to roll. They've been the big story all season long. Of course, they'll take on Wisconsin today in the regional final. Top 5 seeds are rolling. Florida Gators, one of those top 5 seeds. They have not given up a run so far, now playing their 3rd game, and there have been plenty of extra inning games. There have been very long games because of the weather delays.
Yes.
We feel almost a little guilty whenever we come on here, and it's like, yes, it's in the 80s or low 90s. The humidity is low. The sun is out.
We might feel a little guilty, but we still like to brag about it. hot, too. The average temperature has been, 88.2 degrees over the past couple of days?
Dan Ferran did the math, and he figured it out as 88.2. And you are so competitive that you're going to even compete against the other regions for best weather.
Yes, I am going to do that, and I think we are winning this one.
Up the road in Tallahassee, Florida State getting off to a good start. 3 runs in the first inning. Here in Gainesville, 2 runs in the first inning for Florida in support of Kelly Barnhill. And it's something we've said time and again when talking about Barnhill and the Florida defense, but 2-run lead for Florida looks like 5-run lead for some other teams.
Well, especially the way that Barnhill's been pitching in this postseason. She is such a competitor. She wants the ball day in and day out, constantly working on what she can do to be better in the circle for her team. And on the flip side, her team's doing whatever they can behind her to prevent base hits from going through.
Allison Sang fouls it off. It's 2-2. She has moved up from 9th up to 6th in the lineup for Boise State here today. Let's take a look at Barnhill's numbers. This includes her run in the SEC tournament. She did not pitch in Game 1 against South Carolina, the Matthews walk-off win, but then a one-hitter against LSU, shutout of Auburn, and then the win against Alabama helped by Amanda Lorenz's 2-run double in the 6th. That's the last run she's yielded. It was against Alabama in the title game.
And this team really just seems to be firing on all cylinders. Earlier in the regular season, I think some of the mistakes that Kelly Barnhill was making was exploited more so by the fact that they were struggling getting that run production in the bottom of their order, but they found their way here in the postseason.
Count runs full to Allison Sang. Sophomore 1 for 6 in the regional, a couple of runs batted in, 296 on the season. Barnhill's numbers in the SEC tournament, we just went through her entire postseason run, 21 innings, 1 run, 5 hits, 24 strikeouts. Sang gets a piece.
Great battle by Allison Sang up at the plate, too. Fouling off anything that is close. That is not an easy thing to do against Barnhill, especially with the way that her pitches jump throughout the zone. Sang is hanging in there in this full count.
When Boise State has been clicking here in Gainesville, this is what Maggie Laveri's team has done. When they've had 2 strikes, they've fouled a lot of pitches off. They've made pitchers work.
They like to pepper that left side of the field, too, but they try to wear down the pitchers, see as many pitches as they possibly can in each at-bat.
And Sang comes through with a bloop single to left. Great at-bat by Allison Sang, leading off the second for Boise State. 10-pitch at-bat for the sophomore.
Just a great at-bat, especially with 2 strikes, able to foul off all those pitches, and you can just take a look at what Boise State has done with 2 strikes throughout this Gainesville regional. 2 doubles, 3 walks in that first game. They did struggle with that a little bit against Florida earlier this weekend, but they're still having that aggressive mindset here today. And so far, it's been paying off for them.
Fillmore's hit in the first inning came on an 0-2 pitch as Morgan Lamb tries to bunt. It's strike 1. Oh, and 2.
Barnhill knowing the situation that Morgan Lamb is trying to lay down this sacrifice bunt, so she is not messing around with the zone at all, attacking it right on. Now Morgan Lamb's found herself behind in the count, 0-2.
Lamb's 2 hits in the tournament came in the opener against Stanford, the 9-1 win for the Broncos over the Cardinal.
We have dubbed Morgan Lamb the two-strike queen. She saw 32 pitches in that first game against Stanford in 4 plate appearances, including 17 foul balls, which I'm pretty sure, if I do my math correct, 16 of which went to the left side.
This one gets away from Roberts. There goes Seng to second. So Boise State has a runner in scoring position after the wild pitch.
Morgan Lamb wasn't able to get that sacrifice bunt down, but that works just as well. The wild pitch from the hands of Kelly Barnhill allows Allison Seng to move on over into scoring position. And how about that? Another foul ball down the left field line.
Heads up in foul ground down there. Well, Barnhill's had a couple of wild ones here. The pitch that hit Adams, and now the wild pitch that allows Seng to reach second base.
And on those pitches, it looks like she's just trying to overthrow them a little bit. That's one of the things when we talked to her early in the week that she's working on, realizing she doesn't need to throw every pitch 100 miles an hour.
Called strike 3. Second strikeout for Barnhill, one away.
And just like that, working that two-seam fastball down in the zone. Morgan Lamb was fouling off the rise ball, so they come low and inside right at the knees with that pitch. That is a pretty looking pitch. Morgan Lamb didn't agree, but it is indeed strike 3.
Now bring up Carly Johnson. Johnson has 1 run scored in this regional. It was a memorable one. Scored in the 5th inning to make it 1-0 Boise State on her wild slide, roll, and reach.
Reach, yes. The fingertips barely touching home plate.
Actually, 2 runs in the tournament for Carly Johnson. 3 runs batted in. Boise State trying to break through against Kelly Barnhill. Second inning in a row, they have a runner in scoring position. Ground ball to Reynoso. Seng has to hold at second, 2 down.
Just solid defense all the way around from Florida. Like we talked about earlier, they are not going to beat themselves, especially when you hit it over into that shortstop position for Sophia Reynoso. Doesn't matter if it's in fair territory or foul territory. She's going to go all out to make an out.
As we've seen, especially in foul territory. Throwing back behind, and Reynoso tries to get the tag down on Seng as Roberts and Reynoso work together. Seng just back safely.
That was a quick snap throw by Jordan Roberts back behind the plate.
Roberts has been splitting time with Kendall Lindemann, but we have seen Roberts behind the plate primarily in the postseason for Florida. One to one the count to the catcher, the freshman Serena Hutchinson.
Pop up, Kelly, pop up. Right toe.
This is the 9th hitter for Boise State. Barnhill's gotten 2 strikes on all 9 hitters.
That is a tough position to be in if you're the Broncos going up against Kelly Barnhill, but they have been battling every single at-bat, not making it easy on her.
Called strike 3. 4th strikeout for the senior from Marietta.
Barnhill continues her role in the postseason, throwing this rise ball right over the heart of the plate for strike 3.
You are watching the NCAA Softball Regionals presented by Capital One, Gainesville Regional here at the University of Florida. The Florida Gators on top of Boise State 2-0 as we head to the bottom half of the second inning. Of course, Florida has had a remarkable run over these last 20 years in the NCAA tournament, trying to make it to the Super Regionals for the 12th time and see if they can from there get back to Oklahoma City again. And Tim Walton, of course, lifted that trophy back in 2014 and 2015. There were times this year throughout the season where there was a lot of doubt. Maybe there's still some doubt because it's not an amazing lineup for Florida, as we've talked about time and again. But you said the line before, they do not beat themselves. And we have seen a lot of teams struggle with that, whether it's issuing walks, making errors in the field, making mental mistakes. That's something Florida has locked down. They do not beat themselves, and that can go a long way. But Kelly Barnhill helps stretch things out a little bit,
I would
too.
definitely say so. But it's been a big mental shift for this Florida team because they're not used to losing, and they've lost quite a bit in the regular season this year.
Pop up to Cervantes, and Jade Caraway is retired for out number 1.
And that's when talking to Amanda Lorenz and Kelly Barnhill earlier in the week. She said that's the best part about the postseason is you get to throw the regular season behind you, not even think about it, just worry about winning that game in the moment. They were 12-12 in the SEC play this year, finishing 6th. But then they went on to win the SEC tournament last week.
Quickly 2 down as Sipos is retired.
And they've since really been on a roll.
When we asked Barnhill and Lorenz about a turning point, was there something in practice, something that happened with the team because they're playing well? No, the turning point was the SEC tournament. That's pretty late in the season to figure things out, but it wasn't necessarily flipping a switch. It was kind of hitting the reset button in their words, and it's really worked out pretty well for them because they've been on a great run here, winning 7 in a row heading into today's game.
Yeah, and they said they've had confidence in each other all year long. They were coming in early, staying late, putting in the hard work, and finally here in the postseason, their hard work is paying off. They're starting to see some of the rewards of everything they put into it all season long. They just didn't see the results earlier this year.
Here's Alex Voss. 1-1 to the senior at 228 on the season. She had an RBI single on Saturday against the Broncos. One and 2. So Kelly Barnhill, we've seen her with a wild pitch and a pitch that hit a batter on 0-2. She's down in the bullpen, maybe trying to figure a little something out here. That slap foul.
And she is throwing to a left-handed batter over there in the bullpen. Getting a little extra work in. We know that she does like to throw a lot. She feels best when that arm is moving. Just probably trying to get a feel for it over there in the bullpen before she heads back out into the circle.
Two and 2 to the number 9 hitter, Alex Voss. So 2 runs in the first inning. Brodus walked a couple of batters. Lefty Voss up there. Florida against lefties this year. Not very strong numbers. 219 as a team. That's scooped up by Fillmore at third in a 1-2-3 inning for Kelsey Brodus. We've played 2 here in Gainesville. 2-0 Gators. Here's a look at the piece of the bracket that impacts these 2 teams playing in Gainesville. It's presented by Capital One. Take note of that line at the bottom. Bottom team in each matchup must win twice to advance. So Boise State, North Carolina, and South Carolina all need to win twice today to get on to the Super Regionals. Oklahoma State, the first team through to the Supers after they held off Tulsa. Florida and the Boise State winner will take on the winner of the Tennessee-North Carolina regional in the Supers.
Currently, that Tennessee-North Carolina game is tied at 0s in the top of the 4th. And Florida State is beating South Carolina 5-1 in the bottom of the second inning.
We start the third here in Gainesville. Top of the order for Boise State. Cora Wade struck out leading off. Three-year captain for this Boise State team. A lot of speed. So if she gets on base, she's certainly a threat to run. One on one the count to the senior. Tries to bunt her way on. It's 1-2. Boise State's trip here to the Sunshine State is the first time ever a Boise State team has played in Florida. This is just the 11th year of the program for Boise State. They do have a warm weather roster, 14 Californians on the roster. I'm sitting next to a native Californian who is
This is good softball weather.
loving this softball weather.
You're going to brag about it a little more. See, you brought it up that time. I didn't.
Well, I was going to take the next step and say that, the temperature in Boise right now, it's overcast and right around 50, I believe, is the last check. So that's been the default weather condition for a lot of these teams playing outside of Florida and Arizona and California. It's been a tough spring. We had BU and Stanford in this regional as well, and there was some thought, there's going to be a lot of heat down there. How are they going to handle the heat? BU especially was like, are you kidding me? It has been miserable in Boston and playing in the Patriot League this year. We've had so many games in the 40s and
40 and raining.
Rainy and drizzle. Bring on the heat. We want all of it.
All these girls are just soaking up this Florida sunshine, including some of the fans as well, but they come prepared. They've got those big old hats.
And normally I would say I would not wear black when it's going to be 90 degrees, but Boise State's players chose to wear black. Popped up on the infield. Lorenz calls for it. Wade is retired for the first out of the third. Second straight trip to the NCAA tournament for Boise State. Maggie Lavari in her first year in charge of this program, getting Boise State back to the NCAAs. Last year they were in Seattle. Lost to Washington 8-0, lost to Minnesota by 8. Picking up a couple of wins against Stanford here in this Gainesville Regional in 2019. Taking a look at the numbers last year compared to this year, it's just a great step forward for this program.
They're playing completely different than they did last year. They said in Seattle they were a little overwhelmed by the home crowd and really lost their communication.
Just popped up. Lorenz is calling for it. She's got out number 2. Adams is retired.
And that communication is something that they worked on all year to just get used to being in that kind of environment so that they could come down to somewhere regional like Gainesville and come out with a couple of wins. And so far we've seen a very confident Boise State team. Even since they set foot on the field, we saw them playing hacky sack, smiling, you name it. They were doing it in the dugout, just playing free and loose.
Strike one to Rebecca Cervantes, who flied out to left her first time. One and one.
There they are, still having fun in the dugout. I don't know what those things are that they're spinning. I would assume they're for good luck.
They're dizzy, for one. It's 2-1. You're at the point of the year where if something worked once, heaven forbid it works twice,
hey,
you're going to keep going to it.
It's only crazy if it doesn't work. They got a couple of those things in the dugout, right?
Blooper back behind second. Hannah Adams covers so much ground, gets out there easily. It's a 1-2-3 inning for Barnhill. 2.5 complete, 2-0 Florida.
She knows exactly what she's up there looking for.
She gets a hold of one.
You have to be very careful with your pitches.
Nichols in the left.
One of the most consistent hitters.
Romero trying to get something done with 2 outs, and she does.
This is the difference that Oklahoma needed.
Not many hitters in the country that hit a ball like Kayla Conwin. You rarely see her miss.
Another member of that 400 club is set to lead things off here in the bottom half of the third for the Florida Gators. And you can see how consistent Amanda Lorenz has been throughout her career, hitting 400 or better in 3 of her 4 years, a career 406 hitter.
And those are the kind of numbers that you usually see with a slapper, but Lorenz is a lefty power hitter. The thing that is so impressive besides her consistency is her ability to hit pitches out of the zone. So even when pitchers are trying to throw around her, she manages to manipulate her swing and still able to poke the ball, and it finds holes in the outfield.
This year, Lorenz is hitting .333 against left-handed pitching. The lefty Kelsey Brodus set to work here in the third. Lorenz and Lindemann scored in the first. It was a 1-2-3 inning in the second, but now Lorenz starts things off with a foul ball out of play for strike one.
And I always find it so interesting talking to fantastic hitters like Amanda Lorenz. What's their game plan when they step into the box? And when you talk to her, she doesn't really have one, but she's acquiring information as her at-bat goes along, adjusting to what she's seeing from the pitcher. But one of the few hitters, I would say, that goes up to the plate with not a really specific game plan in mind. And in my opinion, I think that makes her even more of a phenomenal hitter, the fact that she's able to read what the pitcher has given her and make her adjustments based on that.
What'd she tell us on Thursday before the regional started? She wishes she
wishes she could go up there with the game plan.
See ball, hit ball.
She said that would make things a little bit easier,
Yeah.
but I'd say she's doing a pretty fine job of that up at the plate.
And on the count 1-2. Slaps it out to left center field. This is hit well, carrying all the way to the track and off the wall. Lorenz with a stand-up double to lead off the third inning. On a 1-2 pitch, Amanda Lorenz has her second hit of the game.
And just as we were talking about that consistency from Amanda Lorenz, this pitch is on the outside half of the plate, almost over the chalk line in the right-handed batter's box, but she throws her hands to it, drives it into that left center gap. Now they've got a runner into scoring position with no outs, and Kendall Lindemann up at the plate.
That's the thing about Lorenz, and you saw it firsthand when you were in College Station for the SEC tournament. We were all watching, but she had that key hit against Alabama, and watching it, it didn't feel like she really hit it hard, but she told us Thursday, oh no, I made good contact on that. I think even her slightly mishit balls, she's getting a lot of the barrel on it.
Yeah, she's getting it right on the sweet spot of the barrel, and that pitch was definitely in the right-handed batter's box that she hit at the SEC tournament. But what's so special about that at-bat specifically is she had come up with runners on base earlier in the game, and she hit a ground ball over the first base, and when she came up that second time, she was not going to miss. She was going to make sure that she brought her teammates around.
She has 3 hits in this regional. She's been on base 6 times. She was 6 for 14 in the SEC tournament. 3-0 here to Lindemann, as Brodus being very careful with the number 2 hitter for this Florida team, and first base empty. Lindemann swings at the 3-0 and drives into left field. Lorenz being held at third, first and third, nobody out for the Gators.
Another nice piece of hitting by this Gators offense, and this time it comes from the righty Kendall Lindemann, getting a pitch on the inside half of the plate and driving it straight down that left field line. It doesn't get past Jessica McKay out in left field, and that's what holds up Amanda Lorenz at third base. But to the Gators' advantage, they've got one of their hottest postseason hitters in Hannah Adams coming up at the plate next.
Lily Mann will run for Lindemann at first.
In this first and third situation, I would not be surprised if you see Coach Walton trying to get Lilyman on over to second base with a stolen base here to get another runner into scoring position for Hannah Adams.
There goes Mann. The throw goes through, and Mann has a stolen base.
Just like that, 2 runners into scoring position for Hannah Adams, who so far this postseason is batting .409 with 6 RBIs.
Ground ball to second. The throw comes home, and the tag is put on Lorenz for the out. Johnson to Hutchinson, 1 away.
A great play by Johnson at second base. Hannah Adams gets around this ball just a little bit, but look how far up Johnson is to be able to cut that ball off before it gets too deep, before she's able to make that throw into her catcher, Serena Hutchinson. Fantastic job of setting herself up so that she was not called for obstruction on that play. Amanda Lorenz doing whatever she could to try to sneak her hand in there, but a nice job defensively for Boise State.
Adams on the run. Roberts belts at the left field. Moving back is McKay to put it away. Tagging up his man to score the 3rd run for Florida.
And those are the types of productive outs that Florida was missing earlier in this season. Great job by Jordan Roberts getting a pitch that she could handle, driving it far enough out into left field to score Lily Mann easily from third base.
Two down, 1 on for Reynoso. RBI number 35 this season for Jordan Roberts. Reynoso swings at the first pitch. Popped up in foul ground. Grabbed by Allison Sang. We'll talk with Florida head coach Tim Walton when we come back. His team leading 3-0 here in Gainesville. Three 0 Florida on top, joined now by Tim Walton, the Florida head coach. Your team, Tim, has not given up a run here in this regional, and maybe it's because Kelly Barnhill's a perfectionist. What have you seen from her so far? We saw her in the pen during the game trying to work on something.
Yeah, I give credit to Mike Bosch. I mean, we told Mike, he hasn't been in postseason with the Gators before. If he doesn't give up any runs, we can't ever lose. So I'm going to give him that credit.
The productive outs with your offense, whether it be sacrifice bunts or sacrifice flies, they've been incredible so far this postseason. What have you seen the changes in their mentality so far?
Well, just you heard Amanda Lorenz say it best. All the statistics from the regular season, they don't matter. All the All-American ballots are all filled, and now it's time to figure out how good teams can win and become great teams.
Thanks, Tim. We appreciate the time.
Thank you, guys.
So all the pressure on the pitching coach, apparently. That's a good CEO move right there by Tim Walton.
If they don't score, we will win.
Mike Bosch in his first season as an assistant handling the pitching, and you'll see him step out of the dugout to talk to Barnhill or the catcher or both, just to kind of compare notes, process things together. So a 3-0 lead for Florida as we head to the 4th. We had a coach delay as Maggie Laveri was so locked in over in the dugout, working out some notes, maybe working on what do we want to do going forward here with certain spots in the lineup, that she had to make the run over to third.
Jogging at a good pace all the way around.
That's a workout when it's approaching 90 degrees. Brady Fillmore leads it off. 1-1. Fillmore on an 0-2 pitch picked up Boise State's first hit of the afternoon. That came in the first inning. 2 hits so far for the Broncos against Kelly Barnhill, making her 40th start of the season.
It looks like some of these Boise State hitters aren't quite on time when she throws that low rise ball in the zone. It looks to be a couple of miles per hour slower than that two-seam fastball, making it even more difficult for them to barrel up balls consistently. Barnhill deciding which ball she wants. And you know, this Florida defense making plays on balls that are already called foul. Lorenz ran in and caught that ball coming off the net. Making the extra effort.
Well, when you play together so long, you know it's not all softballs are created equal. But Lorenz is like, yeah, no.
She was saving that ball for Barnhill. No, this one's been working. You need to stick with this one, Kelly.
Fly ball out of play.
Now Caraway making sure that she brings that ball back in for Kelly as well.
So we're back to our foul ball counter here. Our statistician here in the booth, Dan Ferran, who's done an outstanding job. We gave him the extra task of counting foul balls, so there'll be a little something extra in his paycheck after this weekend. Keep tallying him, Dan. Dan's done a tremendous job for us, our entire crew, especially those who have been out in the hot sun during this regional. We had the 3 games, of course, yesterday. Temps in the 90s yesterday. Our crew in the control room, led by Chris Damiani, Mike Griffin. Everybody's done a tremendous job. And it's a leadoff walk for Fillmore. Second time that the leadoff hitter has been aboard for Boise State here today. Women's College World Series returning to Oklahoma City. The action begins Thursday, May 30th at noon Eastern Time. It'll be live on ESPN. And for more information on the 2019 Women's College World Series, go to NCAA.com, the official online home for all 90 NCAA championships. Jessica McKay takes strike 1. She struck out in the first. Barnhill has struck out 4 here today, giving her 12 total here in this region.
Barnhill going right after her with those rise balls. That's what she got McKay to strike out on earlier in this game. After walking Brady Fillmore first at bat of this inning, she gets ahead of Jessica McKay, 0-2.
Barnhill up over 70 pitches. She worked 2 innings yesterday through 27 pitches. In fact, Barnhill and Lugo combined threw 58 pitches against the Broncos in those 5 innings.
Barnhill coming back to that rise ball. We've seen a lot of these Boise State batters battle with 2 strikes. This one going well up into the zone for McKay's second strikeout on the day on that same rise ball by Kelly Barnhill.
One down for Allison Sang. Popped up in foul ground. Sipos, 2 down. Sang is now 1 for 2.
Boise State designated player Morgan Lamb.
They'll bring up Morgan Lamb with 2 down here in the 4th. Lamb struck out looking in the second. Soft liner grabbed by Reynoso to retire the side. Leadoff walk does not hurt Barnhill and Florida. We'll talk with Maggie Laveri when we come back. Her Broncos down 3-0 in Gainesville. Heading to the bottom of the fourth here in Gainesville, 3-0 Florida over Boise State. Joined now by Boise State head coach Maggie Laveri. And Maggie, just about where this program is and this big step that you guys have taken here in Gainesville, picking up 2 NCAA tournament wins. It must be a thrill for you and your players.
Yeah, we're obviously we're not satisfied, right? We still want to win, but we're very, very pleased to be here on Sunday and pretty excited about the progress that we made.
And Coach, we've seen several foul balls out of your batters, but what is it that makes them so resilient in 2-strike counts?
You know, honestly, they're just gritty. I mean, it's something we talked about a ton over the course of the year, is just fighting for every pitch, and they fight for their teammates. They fight for, you know, any opportunity that they get.
Maggie, we appreciate it. Best of luck.
All right. Thanks, guys.
Kelsey Brodus giving up a run last inning, 2 runs in the first. So Boise State definitely in the fight in this game compared to yesterday when they fell behind 6-0 after 1, 8-0 after 2. Couldn't pick up a hit against Florida pitching. They're in shouting distance certainly right now. The question is, can they keep Florida off the board, and can they come up with something against Kelly Barnhill at the plate in the final 3 innings?
What we've seen out of Brodus today is limiting those free passes. That's what really broke the gates wide open for Florida yesterday early in that game against Boise State, was giving them way too many free passes. But you remember in the first inning, we thought that they were going to get out of it pretty quickly because Kendall Lindemann hit a ground ball to Rebecca Cervantes at shortstop, and they rolled themselves into a double play. But then after that, 4 walks in a row led to several runs for the Gators in the first inning.
Swung on and crushed to left field, and it is gone. Jamie Hoover, a leadoff home run, and Florida's on top 4-0.
Well, this one was an absolute no-doubter off the bat of Jamie Hoover. She absolutely annihilates this ball over the left field wall, taking advantage of a pitch on the inside half of the plate, and she just turns on it using that lower body, showing off her power, and blasts it all the way to the pitcher's lab out there in left field. She knew that one was gone right off her bat.
7th home run of the season for Hoover. First of the regional for the Gators, who now lead 4-0. Ball 1 to Jade Caraway. .52 home runs on the season now for Florida.
Again, we're seeing that production from people other than Lorenz and Lindemann in their lineup, giving them so much confidence moving deeper and deeper into this postseason. They've needed players like Jamie Hoover to step up all season long, but what a time to do it. That was a big-time home run to lead off this inning.
2-1 to Caraway. Caraway was hitting leadoff for a fair period of time this season, hitting 7th here today, had a key hit yesterday against Boise State.
She's batted all over the lineup because you think back to the early SEC conference series for Florida, she was batting in that 9 spot, and her job was to turn that lineup over back to Lorenz and Lindemann. But like you said, had a key hit in the lineup yesterday. Coach Walton sticking with her in the middle of their lineup.
Count goes full to Caraway. Foul tip held onto by Hutchinson for out number 1. Don't miss a minute of the action from the NCAA Softball Regionals. We'll take you to the best live action on the Bases Loaded channel on the ESPN app. You can see every game, every big moment on the road to the Women's College World Series only on the ESPN networks. Great day for Bases Loaded today with 15 regional champions, weather permitting, being crowned.
Just had to rub it in a little more, didn't
That's
you?
just stating facts at this point. That was the first strikeout for Brodus in her 5th of the regional. And Asipos takes a strike. It's 1-1.
I think that's a really big strikeout for Brodus in the circle, too, to come right back after that home run by Jamie Hoover and go right after Jade Caraway. Try not to let this inning get away from them and attack batters, and we're seeing that here again against Hannah Sipos.
Two and 1. Florida 43-19 all time in NCAA tournament play. It's in on Sipos, and it got her on the throwing hand, but after shaking her hand for a minute, she shakes her fist as she heads down to first base.
Looks like Brodus is going to ask the home plate umpire and just check to make sure that she didn't come around on the swing. This curveball coming up and inside to Sipos. Ooh, and it does look, it got her right on the hand. Coach LeBerry's going to come out and have a word with her defense.
Michaela Leal is getting loose in the bullpen for the Broncos. Again, Brodus, with her work against Stanford in 2 games here in this regional, has now thrown a total of 277 pitches in the Florida Heat.
That hit batter was just after we were talking about how Brodus had recovered after that leadoff home run by Jamie Hoover, going right after Jade Caraway. And that's exactly what you did not want, to give another free pass to this Florida offense, because we've seen them take advantage of it all regional long.
We joked around with Kelsey after the game yesterday because every shot we had of her in the circle in that elimination game against Stanford, we thought we saw a little crack of a smile in there, and then
I think we counted 3 yesterday.
But she was keeping track too.
Yeah,
we asked her about it. She goes, "I had a couple in there."
A couple,
I had 2.
yes.
Yeah. So she has the game face on most of the time. Here's Alex Voss squaring to bunt, pulling it back, and taking a strike. One and 1.
Voss is a senior that's really worked her way into the starting lineup during her senior year. At 18 at-bats her freshman year, 17 at-bats her sophomore year, 58 her junior year, but again, broke the starting lineup here in her senior season.
Slap to third. Voss with her speed beats it out, 2 down.
Heads up play by Brady Fillmore over at third base. Hannah Sipos was taken off on the pitch. It looked like a hit and run, but she was still able to grab it and fire it on over to second base in time to get that lead runner out. Alex Voss just beating that throw over to first base.
Back to the top of the order. Here's Amanda Lorenz, who's 2 for 2 today. Singled and scored in the first, doubled in the third. Both her hits have come with 2 strikes.
And both of her hits have been on pitches on the outside half of the plate. So we see early in this at-bat, Brodus is working that backdoor curveball inside and low in the zone to Lorenz.
Back up the middle, and Lorenz is 3 for 3.
That first strike of the at-bat was a pretty pitch, low in the zone inside, but they decided to throw that curveball a little bit farther outside to Lorenz, and she's able to get her barrel extended and drive that ball right back up the middle to put Alex Voss into scoring position for Kendall Lindemann.
So Lindemann will re-enter. Mann had run for her back in the third and scored. Lindemann walked and scored in the first, singled in the third. Hoover with a home run in this inning, her 7th. Lindemann, the team leader, with 14 home runs on the season. Two and 0.
This is a tricky situation if you're Brodus in the circle, because you know that Kendall Lindemann has so much power at the plate. You don't want to give her really anything close to hit. But then on deck, you've got Hannah Adams, one of the hottest hitters for this Gators lineup in the postseason.
It's 3-0. Now, Lindemann had the green light 3-0 last time and came through with a single.
We've seen a couple of their players have green lights with 3-0. Jordan Roberts had the green light on 3-0. They've been very aggressive in that favorable hitter's count.
Well, she'll take a walk, and the bases are loaded for Adams.
Hannah Adams, again, does not have the typical numbers that you would have in the 3-hole. But we heard Tim Walton talk about it. The best part about the postseason is all the numbers go away. It is a clean slate for everybody. And it comes down to that confident mentality, being able to hit in situations like this when you know that Boise State just walked Kendall Lindemann to put the pressure on you up at the plate.
Adams takes strike one. She sacrificed in the first, reached on the fielder's choice in the third. Sophomore out of Georgia, who's had a very good postseason. Big rip, and it's 0-2.
Taking a big old hack on that rise ball up in the zone. She was not getting cheated on that swing.
Ground ball, it hits the base runner, Lindemann. That will do it for the Gators here in the fourth. But they do get a run as Jamie Hoover goes deep with her home run, number 7 on the season.
Jamie Hoover hitting this one, a no-doubter off the bat to tack on another run for the Florida Gators.
Back here at the University of Florida, you're watching the NCAA Softball Regionals presented by Capital One. The Gators have not allowed a run here in Gainesville. They're winning 4-0 as we head to the top half of inning number 5. 2 in the first, 1 in the third, and the run in the fourth was a solo home run by Jamie Hoover. So far, a 2-hit shutout being spun by Kelly Barnhill.
Barnhill has just been great again throughout this postseason, but again today, been a couple of at-bats where she's fallen behind, but she has battled back, gotten the strikeouts when she needed them, and of course her offense picking her up, tacking on those 4 runs.
Barnhill strikes Carly Johnson. Strike 1 on Johnson. Bunt back to Barnhill. Over to Lorenz. 1 away. 7 Innings Podcast every week. The ESPN personalities covering softball. They'll entertain us all the way to Oklahoma City and beyond. You can listen now on the ESPN app, iTunes, or however you listen to podcasts. The most recent one has a look at the bracket regional matchups, conversations with Alabama head coach Patrick Murphy, Mike Andrea from Arizona. They'll keep updating it as we continue on that road to Oklahoma City. Ball one to the number 9 hitter for Boise State, Serena Hutchinson, who struck out in the second.
Right before this inning, saw Coach Lavery having a conversation with Hutchinson, talking to her about getting shorter to contact, not being long with your swing. Could see her motioning, getting those hands to the ball as quickly as possible and then extending it out. Trying to coach up her team. We talked to her earlier in the game about how resilient they are with 2 strikes, but needing to be able to make an adjustment against somebody like Kelly Barnhill. You could see her coaching them up, telling them to be short to the ball, just try to poke something into the outfield.
This is a very good hitting team. 10th in the country with a .323 average. 64 home runs, a single season record. But facing Kelly Barnhill today with their season on the line. 2 down.
And shortening up your swing is definitely something that's easier said than done. Serena Hutchinson taking a big old hack at this rise ball. Coming in, starting right at the thighs and breaking all the way up into the letters. And that's another strikeout for Serena Hutchinson on the day.
A lot of swings and misses today as well for Barnhill. 18 swing and miss strikes against Boise State in the first 2 appearances of the regional for Barnhill, 9 total innings. She had 15 swing and miss strikes. Earlier in the game, she went into the bullpen to try to figure something out. Tim Walton wasn't going to tip his hand or her hand.
When we talked to her earlier this week, she said that she needs to make sure that she's not trying to overthrow her pitches. She already throws everything with such good velocity, but every once in a while she gets in the circle and tries to overpower them, and that's why we were seeing a couple of those wild pitches going back towards the backstop. I would imagine she went back into that bullpen just to try to calm herself down, get a feel for what she needed, make sure she wasn't trying to do too much.
2-2 the count. Cora Wade is the 19th batter Barnhill has faced. And for the 14th time, there's been 2 strikes on a Boise State batter. Wade with a pop-up shallow center field. Alex Voss calls for it. 1-2-3 inning. 6 in a row retired by Kelly Barnhill.
Barnhill has just been absolutely electric in the circle, firing up her Gators on defense, sending them back in the dugout to put up some more runs.
NCAA Softball Regionals is presented by Capital One. What's in your wallet?
Welcome back to Katie Seichel Presley Stadium, the beautiful facility, the home of the University of Florida softball program, as the Gators continue to pursue another regional championship. And now a pitching change for Boise State. Kelsey Brodus gives way to Michaela Leal.
Michaela Leal coming in, the junior, in a high-pressure situation. This is an elimination game for Boise State, so it is a must-win situation. 35.2 innings pitched on the season. Going to have to calm down some of those nerves and attack the strike zone against this Gator offense.
Throws high for ball 1 to Jordan Roberts. Making her first appearance here in the regional, facing Roberts, who brought in a run on a sacrifice fly in the 3rd, walked in the 1st. There's a strike. It's 1-1.
And in between innings when she was warming up in the circle, she was throwing them a little high to her catcher back behind the plate, but able to zero in with that fastball and throw it right over the outside half of the plate for strike one.
Now she's ahead 1-2.
Showing off that off speed, got Jordan Roberts to chase. Now she'll test the two-strike approach of the Gators offense. We've seen it time and time again for Boise State. Let's see what kind of adjustments Jordan Roberts can make up at the plate.
2-2. Kelsey Brodus went 4, gave up 4 runs, 3 walks, a strikeout, 6 hits. They are not in this game if she doesn't pitch lights out against Stanford back-to-back games.
Yeah, she's had a great regional. Some of those pitches just got away from her against Florida, and they were able to take advantage of it.
Brodus, the junior from Albany, Oregon, giving way to the junior from Salinas, California, Michaela Leal, her 15th appearance this year and the first of this postseason. Opponents hitting .246 against her in the regular season. Count goes full 3-2 to Roberts, leading off the 5th here for the Gators. Leadoff walk. Second time Roberts has walked today.
If you're Leal, that's exactly what you did not want to do. You do not want to put the leadoff runner on base, especially by a walk, because this Gators offense has been able to take advantage of it all weekend long. They've been very productive at the bottom half of their order as well. They've got Sofia Reynoso coming up, going to try to do whatever she can to advance that runner to second base.
That runner is a pinch runner. It's Amanda Bean running for Roberts. Here is Reynoso. Ball 1 to the junior shortstop. Reynoso brought in a run in the first and a fielder's choice. Fouled out to first her second time up. 1-1.
You'll see how before the count gets to that 2-strike count, Sofia Reynoso is more down on the bat, more towards the knob. And her 2-strike adjustment is to choke up about 4 to 5 inches to shorten up that swing. But before she gets to that point, trying to utilize every inch of that bat, make sure that she's still able to cover that outside half of the plate, which is where Leal's throwing majority of her pitches so far in this inning.
Slow roller to short. They try to get the force, but off the bag was Johnson. Cervantes threw it to her, and everyone's safe.
And these are the types of situations that the Gators feed off of. Rebecca Cervantes coming up charging on this ball. Carly Johnson was anticipating that Cervantes was going to throw the ball over to first base, and that's why she's not set up on second base to get Bean out at 2. And instead of getting 1 out, now there's no outs with runners on first and second.
And Jamie Hoover, who homered off of Brodus her last time up.
One of the things that's so impressive about Jamie Hoover's swing, you'll notice where she sets up in the box. She is almost, her heels are almost on that chalk line in the back. But she's got so much strength, she's able to reach that outside half of the plate, even being that far off the plate.
Hoover waits on it, fouls it off, and it's 1-2. Jordan Matthews has stepped into the on-deck circle for the Gators to hit for Caraway. Two and two.
Leal still working that outside half, realizing that Hoover is so far back in the box. That's got to be tough for a batter to judge the outside half of the plate when you're that far off. But I guess if you practice it enough, you know.
Hard liner on one hop to Cervantes. She'll get the lead runner. Bean is retired. First and second, one out now for the Gators.
Heads up play to get the lead runner by Cervantes. But that will bring up Jordan Matthews to pinch hit for Jade Caraway, known as the postseason queen for this Gators offense. Before last weekend, I would say that she's most known for her walk-off home run against Texas A&M in the Super Regionals here in Gainesville last year. She had the walk-off double to get them their first win in the SEC tournament against South Carolina last week. And, of course, they went on to win the SEC tournament.
It will be very tough to top what happened against Texas A&M last year, but as we saw against South Carolina, she's determined to try. But Florida's season was down to their final strike, and Matthews came up with a walk-off in Game 3 of the Super Regionals to send Florida back to the Women's College World Series. It is 4-0 Florida here in the fifth. That means with 2 on and Matthews at the plate, the winning run is in the on-deck circle right now. One and one.
Nice changeup out of the hands of Leal to work back even. We've seen 3 of those this inning. She's been able to throw each of them for strikes. She got Roberts to swing at one, Hoover to swing at another, and there goes the third one in for a strike to Jordan Matthews.
Fly ball on the infield as Cervantes calls for it. Infield fly rule, 2 down. Florida needs 1 win here today against Boise State to advance on to the Super Regionals. Boise State needs 2 wins to advance to the Superners. The winner of the Gainesville Regional will take on the winner of the Knoxville Regional, being played right now between Tennessee and North Carolina.
Currently, Tennessee is losing to North Carolina 1-0 in the top of the 7th inning. Now remember, North Carolina would have to beat Tennessee twice to advance on to the Super Regionals. But a tight game going on in Knoxville.
Pinch hitter for Florida is Cheyenne Lindsay. Lindsay hitting for Sipos. That's inside. It's 1-1. Lindsay's other plate appearance of this regional came on Friday when Florida was being no-hit by Allie Dubois and Boston University. She came up with a pinch hit single to give Florida their first hit of the night. Game they eventually won 3-0.
I think if Jordan Matthews is going to have the nickname of the postseason queen, we've got to try to come up with something for Cheyenne Lindsay. But everything I'm coming up with right now is way too long. The pinch hitting, breaking up the no-hitter queen is the only thing that's coming to my mind right now. But we'll come up with something.
That is tough to fit on a shirt or a bumper sticker or anything that I can think of. Back up the middle, knocked down by the pitcher. Lindsay has good speed, and she'll beat it out. Coming around, trying to score, and diving in safely is Reynoso.
And just like that, Cheyenne Lindsay making things happen when she comes up for these pinch hit at-bats. But look at this smart heads-up base running by Sofia Reynoso to realize that Allison Sang was not paying attention to her after that ball was thrown over to first base. And look at this dive, getting her hand right in there before Serena Hutchinson could tag her on the leg. And, of course, the speed by Cheyenne Lindsay to beat that one out and get another run across the board for the Gators.
It's a base hit for Lindsay, so she's 2 for 2 pinch hitting. Keep coming up with slogans here.
I know,
they're pretty
we got
good.
to.
That one doesn't break up a no-hitter like she's done twice this year. She did it against USF in the 6th inning in the regular season. Did it here against BU in the regionals, and now pinch hitting with a spot in the super regionals on the line. She gets an RBI single to add to the lead. It's 5-0.
We'll have to come up with something. We'll brainstorm up here, get some ideas.
Ground ball knocked down by Johnson on the first in time to end the Florida threat. But the Gators add another run. And at the end of 5, Florida in control of 5-0. You are watching the NCAA Softball Regionals presented by Capital One. On to the 6th inning here in the Gainesville Regional. Florida stretching out their lead. 2 in the first, 1 in the third, 1 in the fourth, 1 in the fifth. All in support of Kelly Barnhill as Florida tries to give the SEC their 22nd win in this tournament. You're going to have a lot of wins and losses when you get all 13 teams into the tournament, which the SEC did again this year. Two, 3, 4 for Boise State here in the 6th. Popped up foul ground out of play off the bat of Ashlyn Adams, who's 0 for 1, was hit by a pitch, reached third base in the first inning. Boise State had runners on the corners in the first, but they have been unable to score against Barnhill. Their last hit was Sang's leadoff single in the 2nd inning. Just a walk issued by Barnhill since then. That was to Fillmore leading off the 4th. 0-2.
Like you said, they were able to get some runners on, but Kelly Barnhill has gotten the strikeouts when she needed them. And those unproductive outs like strikeouts doesn't advance any runners, and that's what's been the struggle for Boise State up at the plate today.
Fly ball to right. Jamie Hoover, 1 down. 7 in a row retired by Barnhill. An update from Knoxville. North Carolina 1, Tennessee 0. Final.
All right. They're going into game 2 today.
So there will be a winner-take-all game in Knoxville today. The winner of that region taking on the winner of this region here in Gainesville. Fly ball, foul ground, mile high, and moving over is Lorenz, who's now moved over to left field from first base, and she has it. Route number 2.
She's got shades the shades on.
Yes, we were talking about this yesterday. We had so many shades on top of heads, but right now they're where they belong. And I think with this bright sunshine, I think Amanda's pretty happy about that.
Alex Voss has hers on top of her visor. So does Jamie Hoover. Going around, but good thing Amanda Lorenz had her sunglasses on for that pop fly. Oh, they're everywhere on top of the visors.
Fillmore sends it out of play. It's 1-1. Fillmore has reached base twice against Barnhill. Singled in the first, walked in the fourth. Torinoso on to Matthews. Another 1-2-3 inning for Kelly Barnhill. Florida now 3 outs away from her trip to the Supers. Up 5-0.
We welcome you to Clearwater. The amount of great matchups and great teams here
Good piece of hitting here.
It is gone!
Spectacular matchups all weekend here.
To the track. It is caught. What a catch!
Are you serious?
A magical couple of days. What an incredible event.
Next year's Clearwater Elite Invitational presented by Wilson starts February 13th on ESPN. USF added to the field yesterday. More additions to come as we progress along the road to the Women's College World Series.
Can't stress enough just how much fun of a tournament that is. Not only are the teams the elite teams across the country, so you're getting great competition all across the board, but a great environment on top of that has a real postseason feel in February.
Amanda Lorenz to lead things off for Florida here in the bottom of the 6th. Lorenz singled and scored on a wild pitch in the first, doubled but was thrown out at home in the third, and singled in the fourth. Her average is now up to .427 on the season. Michaela Leal in her second inning of work comes inside, misses for ball 2, 2-1.
And all game long, we've seen these Boise State pitchers stay on that outside half of the plate, and that's where she's been able to be successful. Leal trying to change it up on the inside half, but works it too far inside. We know that Amanda Lorenz has one of the best eyes up at the plate. Very rarely will she swing out of the zone less than 2 strikes.
Lorenz goes the opposite way, but getting over there is McKay, 1 down.
Leal able to do something that Brodus was not able to do all game long, and that is get Amanda Lorenz out. Now, it might have been a loud out. Nice catch out there by Jessica McKay. But either way, it is the first out of the inning here in the bottom of the 6th.
I'll bring up Kendall Lindemann. Lindemann walked and scored in the first, singled and scored in the third, walked in the fourth. Two and 0. Florida has outscored their opponents here in this regional. 3-0, 8-0, and right now 5-0 as we play in the 6th inning against Boise State. .302 Lindemann. 4-pitch walk to Kendall Lindemann. I'll bring up Hannah Adams, who is credited with a single back in the 4th inning. Ground ball that hit Lindemann as Lindemann was running to second base. So Adams is now 1 for 2, sacrificed in the first, reaching the fielder's choice in the third. Boise State's been careful with Lindemann today. She saw 17 pitches, only 2 strikes.
She saw a lot of changeups as well, even though we saw her get a hit on a changeup yesterday, but she was able to get 2 pop-ups before that. But a great adjustment up at the plate to sit back on the changeup during that third at-bat and drive it out to the left center gap. That's what we've seen a lot of today during her at-bats, changeups and balls low in the zone to make sure that you're staying in the yard with her, really challenging Hannah Adams behind her.
Four hits in the regional for Adams. She takes strike 1. Florida trying to post its 29th shutout in 44 regional games since 2006. 4-6-3 double play turn by Boise State. Johnson to Cervantes onto Singh to retire the side.
Well, great defense from Boise State, something we've seen all weekend long. A great job by Johnson, tossing it to Cervantes, back over to Singh for the 4-6-3 double play.
Kelly Barnhill, fantastic Gainesville Regional. She is done for the day after going 6 innings, giving up 2 hits and no runs.
The other day she said she wasn't really feeling her rise ball, but I would imagine that she was feeling it today, throwing it early and often, getting tons of strikeouts for her team and keeping her team in this game.
Barnhill with 6 strikeouts. So for the regional, 15 innings of work, 6 hits, no runs, 2 walks, 14 strikeouts through 94 pitches today. She gives way to junior Katie Chronister to work the 7th inning, trying to wrap up a regional win for the Gators.
Of course, Chronister is going to be a completely different look than what we saw out of Barnhill. She's going to throw from the left side. The pitch she likes to utilize the most is that curveball. She will throw it to both sides of the plate, both to righties and lefties. She likes to work up in the zone. She also has an off-speed that she will throw as well. But the key for Chronister in the circle is she needs to get ahead of batters. She needs to throw strikes. That's definitely something that they're going to look for her to do here in the 7th inning.
Hometown kid delivers strike 1. McKay, Sang, and Lamb due up for Boise State. Ground ball to Adams, 1 away here in the 7th. As you saw, Chronister, this is just her 10th inning of work this year, making her 12th appearance. Trying to wrap up win number 32 on the season for Kelly Barnhill. Allison Seng steps in. A win here in the Gainesville Regional means Florida will be back here next weekend hosting the Super Regionals against the winner of the Tennessee-North Carolina series. Series that needs a 7th game after North Carolina knocked off Tennessee. So now Tennessee facing elimination as well as North Carolina in that last showdown.
And North Carolina has really 2 solid pitchers for them in the circle, in Brittany Pickett and Hannah George. If you remember earlier in the season, they were able to take a series away from Florida State in the ACC regular conference play, holding Tennessee to 0 runs in that game. All they needed was 1 to push across the board to send that game into a 7th.
2-2 the count now to Allison Sang, who has 1 of the 2 hits today for Boise State, singled leading off the 2nd. Chronister gets the strikeout, 2 down.
Great job by Chronister to come in, go right after these batters, getting a quick first out, and then, of course, getting that 2nd out. And there's Tim Walton coming out to greet her. Doing her job, getting those first 2 outs of the inning. It looks like they're going to bring in Danielle Hightower to finish it out.
The pride of Gainesville getting 2 outs here in the 7th. And now Hightower getting loose for the Gators.
And Hightower is going to be, again, a different look than what we saw out of Chronister. She'll throw anywhere from mid-60s. She likes to throw that rise ball. That's her strikeout pitch, similar to Kelly Barnhill. She'll work both sides of the plate, but she does have an off-speed as well. We've talked about how Boise State has needed to make adjustments all day long against Kelly Barnhill, but how about this in the 7th inning, having to make an adjustment not just to Chronister, but then now to Elizabeth Hightower.
Hightower, member of the SEC All-Freshman team, pitched 3 innings against South Carolina in the SEC tournament. Tim Walton told us that she was battling an illness, so she wasn't feeling great out in College Station. Now getting a chance to get back here in the circle.
And she started off that game great. And then it went into I believe a 4.5-hour rain/tornado delay before they had to come back and face South Carolina. Of course, they were down by 4 runs, able to come back and get that walk-off hit by Jordan Matthews. But he had nothing but great things to say about what he's seen out of Elizabeth Hightower so far this year.
Morgan Lamb batting with 2 down. Hightower starts with strike 1. One and 1. 17th appearance this year for the freshman from Monticello, Florida. Opponents hitting .216 against her this year. Lamb was 0 for 2 against Barnhill. Here is the 1-1. Out of play. And it's 1 and 2.
In true Morgan Lamb fashion, fouling that one off to the left side. That brings all the Florida fans to their feet with 2 strikes and 2 outs here in the top of the 7th.
The 1-2. Grounded foul. And we'll do it again.
Stand up, them horses now. The Broncos think you're
Another 1-2. Another foul ball off the bat of Morgan Lamb.
She's just trying to see how high she can get that foul ball tally up.
Or in the case of that last one, how high she can get the foul ball,
yes,
because she's not cheating herself here in this last at-bat. Lays off, and it's 2-2.
She thought about that one. She was going after the high ones, held up right at the last minute.
Hightower brings the 2-2. Now goes full. Two down in the 7th, a 3-2 pitch. Grounded off the glove of Sipos, and Lamb is aboard with 2 down.
The first defensive mistake that we've seen from this Florida team. That ball just tips off right off the end of Hannah Sipos' glove. Reynoso does whatever she can to stop it, but that allows Morgan Lamb to reach base safely.
It has scored a base hit for Lamb, who will check out of the game. India Kelly will come in to run. Here's Carly Johnson. Johnson 0 for 2. She fouls off the first pitch. Boise State may not walk out of Gainesville with the regional title, but I think it's going to be tough to top that sliding play at home by Johnson last night against Stanford to get the Broncos on the board, a game they eventually won 2-0 to get here to a regional final for the first time. Fly ball to who else? Lorenz has it. For the 12th time and the 7th straight year, Florida is heading to the Super Regionals. The Gators do not give up a run here in 3 games in Gainesville, beating Boise State today by a final score of 5-0. So the bracket has Florida moving on to the Super Regionals. They'll take on the winner of Tennessee and North Carolina. Coming up next, more regional action. Arizona State taking on Alabama. For Madison Shipman and our crew, I am Eric Freed. So long from Gainesville. Now let's send it to Tuscaloosa.